I remember the exact moment my marriage ended. It wasn't during a fight, and there wasn't a single raised voice. It happened on a Thursday night in Austin, when the air outside was warm enough to keep the windows cracked. I just finished in the garage, working on a custom cabinet order. My hands were still dusty with sawdust, shirt damp with sweat. I stepped inside, heading for the kitchen, when I heard her voice from down the hall. Madison was in our bedroom, pacing like she always did when she talked on the phone. "I'm sick of him. I just want the money." I stopped mid-step. My heart didn't race, but something shifted in my chest, like a hinge snapping off its screws. She kept talking, not knowing I was just around the corner. "Yes, Sierra, I'm serious. This California trip? He thinks it's about us. I just need the cards, and then I'll figure out the rest." I stood there, hand flat on the wall, staring at nothing. Every memory of us flashed through my head. Our first date at a little coffee shop, the courthouse wedding we called romantic and simple, the long hours I put in so we could buy a house. All of it suddenly felt cheap. Her tone wasn't angry. It was casual, like she was ordering lunch. And that made it worse. The call ended. I had seconds before she came out. My brain told me to confront her, demand an explanation. My gut told me to wait. If I exploded now, she'd spin it into me overreacting. No, I would stay quiet, pay attention, and decide what kind of ending this story was going to have. She walked into the kitchen with her hair clipped up and a wine glass in hand. "Hey," she said like nothing happened. "You're late." "Client meeting ran long," I said, keeping my voice even. She barely looked at me. "Can you shower before you sit on the couch? You smell like with glue." I nodded. "Sure." Then, as if nothing had just shattered, I asked, "You excited about California?" Her eyes lit up. "Yeah, sun shopping. I need it." I took my drink and went to the shower, letting the hot water beat down while my mind replayed every word I'd overheard. Over the next couple of days, I paid attention. It wasn't hard to see the signs I'd been ignoring. Madison talked about money like it was a third person in our marriage. When money was in the room, she was warm. When it wasn't, she was cold. I noticed the way she flipped through shopping apps at night, how she sighed when I came home from work sweaty and dusty. I thought about the sacrifices I'd made, buying her a car in cash, helping her start a side business that went nowhere, paying for her photography course she never finished. It all lined up with what I'd overheard. She wasn't with me for me. That weekend, while she was out with friends, I sat at the kitchen table with a yellow legal pad. At the top, I wrote California. Underneath, I drew 2 columns. What she thinks, I don't check statements. What's true, I check everything, I just stopped telling her. What she thinks, I'll keep paying no matter what. What's true, I'm about to stop. What she thinks, this trip is about fixing things. What's true, this trip is about ending them. I slid the pad back in the drawer when I heard her come home. On Monday, I called Kelsey, a family lawyer a friend had recommended years ago when we did our prenup. I told her I needed to know exactly what was mine, what was ours, and how to protect my business. She told me to bring bank statements, LLC paperwork, and keep my mouth shut until I was ready to act. "Quiet is your friend," she said. That same day, I opened a new personal bank account. I moved some savings into it, enough to take care of myself, but not enough missing from the joint account to raise suspicion. I also set alerts for when the balance dropped below a certain number. From now on, I'd see every cent that left. At night, Madison was more interested in planning her vacation wardrobe than in talking to me. She showed me outfits she'd probably buy. "We should get photos in Santa Monica," she said, "for my Instagram." I smiled like it was a good idea, but inside I was somewhere else entirely, already thinking about how I would leave her stranded. The following weekend, I started preparing quietly. I packed a small duffel with clothes, personal documents, and a separate credit card in my name only. I stashed it in the rafters of the garage. Madison didn't notice. It was the same way she hadn't noticed me slipping away from her emotionally. The last test came 2 nights before the trip. We were on the couch when I said casually, "Hey, should I book the hotels on my business card? Better points that way." She shook her head without looking up. "Just use the Amex." Like always. That one sentence told me everything. The marriage wasn't about the trip, the beach, or even us. It was about access to my work, my accounts, my effort. That night, I lay in bed and knew for certain California wouldn't be a reset for her. It would be the finish line for me. The morning we left for California, I woke up before my alarm. The house was still, and for a moment I just sat there in the dark, listening to Madison hum softly in the shower. She was in a good mood, her vacation voice. That made it easier to keep my face neutral. I got dressed, grabbed my already packed carry-on, and double-checked the duffel I'd hidden in the garage rafters was safely tucked into the trunk of my truck. Madison came out in travel clothes she'd clearly chosen for the airport look: designer leggings, oversized sunglasses, fresh manicure. She was all smiles, talking about beach weather and cute brunch spots she'd found online. To her, this trip was proof her charm still worked on me. At the airport, she leaned on my arm while we went through TSA, joking about how we needed to move to California someday. I smiled, but my mind was already counting the steps to the moment she'd realized this wasn't the trip she thought it was. We landed in Los Angeles mid-afternoon. The heat was softer than in Texas, but the air smelled faintly of salt and exhaust. I rented the car, my name only on the contract, and we drove to a high-end hotel in Santa Monica with ocean views. Madison lit up as soon as she stepped into the marble-floored lobby. She took a quick selfie in the elevator mirror, already posting to her story, "Vacation starts now." In the room, she opened the curtains to the balcony, taking in the view. "This is perfect," she said, already unpacking outfits onto the bed. She didn't notice I only took out enough clothes for one night. The next day was all about her. We walked along the beach, browsed expensive shops, and had lunch at a trendy cafe. She ordered champagne, and I ordered water, saying I was saving room for dinner. She laughed at that, teasing me for being boring. I let slide. What she didn't see was that I was watching, every expression, every tone. When she flirted with the waiter, just enough to make me notice. When she brushed off my question about her phone buzzing constantly. When she rolled her eyes because I wanted to check out a woodworking gallery instead of another clothing boutique. That evening, while she was in the shower, I sat on the bed and pulled up my new bank account on my phone. I transferred the last chunk of personal funds out of our joint account. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, deliberate. She still had enough for meals, for the room that was already paid for. But anything beyond that, gone. On the third day, I set my plan in motion. Over breakfast, I told her I had to meet an old client down in San Diego for a potential big job. "It's just lunch," I said. "You can shop or get a spa day while I'm gone. I'll be back by dinner." She didn't question it. In fact, she seemed relieved, probably happy to have the day to herself. "Perfect," she said, sipping her mimosa. "I'll just hang by the pool and check out some stores." I left late morning with my carry-on and the hidden duffel, telling her I'd text when I was on my way back. I didn't head to San Diego. I headed to LAX. I'd already booked a one-way back to Austin under my business account, flying out that afternoon. While I waited for my flight, I powered down the joint credit card. I changed my online banking passwords. I removed her access to my business accounts. My lawyer's paperwork, already prepared, would hit her inbox within 48 hours. I landed back in Texas just after sunset. My phone lit up with her messages, starting casual, "How's lunch?" and quickly shifting to, "Where are you?" By the time I got home, the messages had turned into missed calls. I ignored them. At 9:13 p.m., she called again. This time, I answered. Her voice was sharp with panic. "Where are you?" "I've been waiting. I don't have any money on the card. Something's wrong with my room key. What the hell is going on?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't rush. I just said, "See if you can find a man in California with money to support you. Goodbye." Then I hung up. I set the phone down, walked into my kitchen, and poured myself a drink. The silence in the house felt different, lighter. From that point on, I didn't respond. Not to her texts. Not to the voicemails that swung from screaming to begging. She was stuck 3 states away, the ocean just outside her window, and no way to pay for the life she thought she was entitled to. In that hotel room, with no more Amex, no more joint account to lean on, Madison was finally getting what she'd said she wanted, to know what life was like without me. Only she'd have to figure out the money part on her own. And I was finally getting what I wanted, peace. When I hung up that night in my kitchen, the silence felt almost unnatural. No TV humming in the background, no clinking dishes, No footsteps in the hallway. Just me, a half-empty glass of bourbon, and the sound of my own breathing. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't even anger anymore. It was a deep, clean kind of relief, like I'd finally set down a weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying every day for years. My phone lit up over and over again that night. Madison's name filled the screen: calls, voicemails, texts, FaceTime attempts. At first, I let them come in just to see how fast they'd turn from demanding to desperate. And sure enough, it happened within hours. First text: "What's going on? The card's not working. Did you forget to pay the bill?" Second: "Okay, seriously, this isn't funny. Call me now." Third: "The hotel says I need a deposit. My key isn't working. Are you coming back or not?" Fourth: "You can't just leave me here. Ethan, answer me." Fifth voicemail: "I don't know what you're doing, but you need to stop. This is insane. You can't just cut me off like this. Do you understand what you're doing to me?" By midnight, she wasn't yelling anymore. Her messages were shorter, her voice cracking in the voicemails. "Please, just tell me where you are. I can fix whatever's wrong. Don't do this." I didn't reply to a single one. The next morning, I woke up at 6, made myself eggs and black coffee, and sat at the kitchen table like it was any other day. My phone had 37 unread messages. Madison's desperation had deepened overnight. One of them read, "I don't have enough cash to get back. Please, Ethan. I'm sorry. I'll come home. Just send me something so I can get a flight." I stared at that one for a minute. She still didn't understand. Not really. She thought this was a fight, that I was teaching her some kind of temporary lesson. She didn't realize the lesson was permanent. I sent her one last message: "See if you can find a man in California with money to support you. Goodbye." I blocked her number. The lawyer's paperwork went out that same day. Kelsey drafted it exactly as we discussed: separation of assets, immediate freeze on joint accounts, full protection of my business, and a clean timeline for divorce. Everything was legal, airtight, and most importantly, fast. Within 48 hours, I had confirmation she'd been served, in person at the hotel. I pictured the look on her face when the front desk clerk handed her the envelope instead of a room key. A week later, word started to spread among friends and family. Madison tried to get ahead of the story, telling people I'd abandoned her on vacation, that I was cruel, controlling, unstable. But the details didn't work in her favor. People wanted to know why she was in California without a dime of her own, why she couldn't buy her own plane ticket home, why she suddenly had to sell her designer bags online just to make rent. The same people who used to roll their eyes at my long work hours were now quietly telling me they understood. Madison came back to Austin about 2 weeks later. She didn't come home. She couldn't. I changed the locks and transferred the house title fully to my name. She stayed with Sierra for a while, which was fitting, considering that's the person she'd been talking to the night I overheard her. I heard from mutual friends that even Sierra got tired of her after a month, especially once Madison started asking to borrow money. She tried to email me once. It was a long, rambling thing about how she'd been confused, how we'd grown apart, how maybe she'd gotten too comfortable. She didn't mention love once, not once in 3 paragraphs. She only mentioned partnership and what we built together, which I knew was just code for I missed the security. I archived it without replying. Meanwhile, my life started to get simple again. Work was steady, and without Madison's spending habits attached to my accounts, I was saving more than I had in years. I expanded my shop's client list, took on bigger projects, and even had time to pick up woodworking jobs I'd turned down before. I started running again in the mornings, something I'd stopped because Madison hated when I left the house early on weekends. I saw friends I hadn't had a beer with in years. I fixed up the old 4Runner I'd bought her, and when it was running perfectly, I sold it to a young guy who needed a reliable ride for his landscaping business. Most importantly, my house felt like mine. The quiet wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. About 3 months after California, I ran into one of Madison's cousins at the grocery store. She looked at me like she wasn't sure she should say hello, then finally did. "She's not doing great," she said, almost whispering. "I think she thought you'd. I don't know, come around." I just smiled. "I'm fine," I said, and left it at that. That night, sitting on my porch with a beer, I realized something important. I hadn't once, not for a single second, wished I'd done things differently. I didn't miss her voice in the house, didn't miss her text during the day, didn't miss the constant undercurrent of being judged by the person I was supposed to trust most. She'd made her choice the night. She told her friend she just wanted the money. All I did was give her exactly what she asked for, life without me, and without my wallet. I never saw her again after that grocery store run-in. From what I've heard, she's bounced between a couple of short-term jobs and shorter relationships, always looking for the next California trip, always chasing the next man with an open wallet. As for me, I kept my promise to myself. No more giving someone the power to decide my worth with a bank balance. I'll live quieter now, but it's the kind of quiet that feels like freedom. Some people think revenge is about making the other person suffer. For me, it wasn't that. It was about removing myself from the game she thought she was playing. The moment she realized I was never coming back, that was the only win I needed. And if Madison ever tells the story, I hope she remembers this. I didn't leave her in California because I stopped caring. I left her there because she made it clear she never cared in the first place. And once you hear that with your own ears, there's no going back.